Hi, my name is Jack Conroy. I'm a graduate student and Beasley Fellow at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science at William & Mary, where I'm working on my PhD. I recently returned from my 5th field season conducting research in Antarctica. Today I'm going to talk about watching the seasons turn from Palmer Station, where I do my research. Over a 5-month field season, plenty changes, but it's a little different than watching the seasons turn in Chesapeake Bay. First off, winter and summer are switched in the Southern Hemisphere. So during winter in Virginia, it's summertime in Antarctica. I arrive at Palmer in October, which is Antarctic spring. You can see the area is blanketed in a few feet of snow and surrounded by sea ice. By the middle of summer, which is December, there's open water surrounding Palmer, and most of the snow is melted. At this time of year, Palmer gets 22 hours of sunlight each day. It's time for me to leave Palmer in March when autumn arrives. You can see there's a few inches of snow on the ground, and the floating ice in the picture on the right is pieces of the glacier that fell into the ocean during summer when the temperature was above freezing. 5 months may seem like a long time, but for the Antarctic ecosystem, it's just like one long day. The ecosystem wakes up as soon as the sea ice melts in spring. This is the morning cup of coffee for life in Antarctica. Algae, or phytoplankton, are the microscopic plants of the ocean and form the base of the food web. Just like trees, they need sunlight, so they can't start growing until the sea ice melts. I study krill and other zooplankton. Krill are shrimp-like animals about the size of my pinky finger. They depend on eating algae during the summer to build up energy reserves so that they can survive the next dark winter. Krill are the main food source for Adelie penguins. Adelies return to their breeding colonies near Palmer Station, where they've laid their eggs each spring for the past 1,000 years. In the middle of summer, the waters near Palmer host a feeding frenzy. This is the lunch rush at your favorite food truck or restaurant. Calm winds keep phytoplankton in the surface waters, where they have plenty of sunlight to grow. While krill feed on these algae blooms, they grow rapidly and come together in large schools, like anchovies or sardines. The biggest krill swarm I measured was over 1.5 miles long, over 1 mile wide, and 60 feet thick. That huge amount of krill feeds penguins and whales. Once penguin chicks hatch, mom and dad take turns going out into the ocean to catch krill, then come back to feed their chicks. Summer's also when humpback whales begin showing up at Palmer. These whales migrate all the way from the tropics with the sole purpose of feasting on krill. In autumn, everything starts slowing down, and it's time to get ready for winter. This is when you get into your bedtime routine. Maybe you have a go-to evening drink or curl up with a book. The algae have used up some of the nutrients they need to grow. Windy weather mixes them deeper into the ocean where they have less light. Krill are more dispersed around Palmer, and they head toward the coast for winter. The newly fledged Adelie penguins take their first trips out into the ocean alone. They leave their breeding islands and go find sea ice for the winter. Humpback whales keep swimming past Palmer, either looking for larger krill swarms or starting the long migration back to tropical waters. So why are we studying these seasonal processes? The average sea ice season near Palmer is now 3 months shorter than it was in 1980. Sea ice is freezing later in autumn and melting earlier in spring. We know different sea ice conditions change the timing and size of algae blooms. Sea ice retreat also affects when Adelie penguins lay their eggs. My research is filling in a gap to understand how and why krill availability changes from spring to summer to autumn. If different organisms respond to changing sea ice conditions in different ways, then mismatches can occur. For example, penguins depend on krill during summer when they're feeding their chicks. But if krill show up too early or too late, then underfed penguin chicks struggle to make it through the winter. But penguins and whales aren't the only ones after krill. Commercial fishing vessels land about 300,000 tons of Antarctic krill each year. Fishery managers create policies to limit when, where, and how much krill can be caught. Effective policy depends on scientific data. So although Chesapeake Bay looks a little different, the same concepts apply. Algae blooms here depend on rainfall rather than sea ice. Instead of krill, the bay has schools of anchovy and menhaden. These smaller species support osprey and striped bass that we want to protect, just like whales and penguins. If you have questions, you're welcome to email me. More information is available at the Palmer Long-Term Ecological Research website. And if you'd like to stay up to date with VIMS research and VIMS events, then please sign up to receive the monthly eTidings newsletter. Thanks so much for watching.